Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and for most of you, myself included, you've now logged in for 14 days straight, and you obtained the Odin's Blessing chest. Now, before we get started on what you should do with the Odin's Blessings, because I've seen a lot of questions on social media, I do want to extend an olive branch and kind of a pat on the back and a hug to everybody who has not logged in for 14 days straight. So for now, you don't have the Odin's Blessings, but the more frustrating thing is that you know you're not going to get the CTP chest. Now, it could still be a Patience or an Egg or a Transcendence, CTP of free-to-play, but it sucks to kind of see yourself falling just one day short of something that you're watching, literally tracking day by day. So I do have to, extend my apologies to them. But for everybody else, and I've seen a lot of questions saying, hey, Cynicalex, I got this Odin's Blessing, I got that Odin's Blessings, who should I give it to, etc. I want to outline and detail for you guys the three main factors, three questions you should ask yourself before you give an Odin's Blessings to a character, because while you can farm for some of them, and they're not as valuable, and they're not as pivotal and game-changing as CTPs or stuff like that, you still want to be a bit careful and a bit selective when you are equipping your Odin's Blessings. So to start off, I do want to remind you guys that I do have an Odin Blessing / Uru guide on my master guide, which you can get from the description of every video. And although I don't give you specific characters, like many specific characters to equip these Odin's Blessings, I do give you some possible situations. So I talk about Doctor Strange here, Captain America, Sharon Rogers, Thanos, and Captain Marvel. Now, these don't cover all of the possible Odin's Blessings. I just cover a few here: Magic, Amplify, Focus, Strike, Steel, Toughness, and actually that's it. So there are still other ones to go through, but you can use this as a jumping off point, and you can use these stats over here in terms of how much each Uru will give you in terms of a percentage for each stat, in order to know. And of course, you just have to consider that the Odin's Blessings will be actually not the same as a 6-star, but actually will be more than a 6-star, because they have more stats than a 6-star, but they're already at 6 stars by default. So let me open my chest first so we can get into the conversation a bit more concretely here. Let me just go find my Odin's Blessing and see which one I get. I got Heal. Heal is a really, really good one. I think it's one of the 3 best because it offers a double of the same stat. So the 3 ones here, it's Magic, Strike, and Heal. Magic offers double energy attack, Strike offers double physical attack, and Heal, which you can get from Corvus World Boss Ultimate, gives you double HP. So going off of the double HP one, I would ask myself essentially 3 questions, and these are the 3 questions that you have to ask yourself when you're considering who to give an Odin's Blessing to. So I have this Heal here. Who do I want to give it to? So I think the first question you want to ask yourself is, are you going to be equipping it on a character that you want the character to get stronger? That's kind of the first question. If you don't have a character that you specifically want to power up, then you can move on to one of the other 2 questions. But the first question should be, which strong character do I want to make stronger? And that could be a character that's already really strong. Generally speaking, it's better in Marvel Future Fight to upgrade strong characters rather than upgrading weak characters. You get a CTP of Energy, you give it to Sharon Rogers, or you give it to Cable, already strong characters. You don't take a CTP of Energy and give it to MODOK. He's a weak character, he's not going to be able to do very much with that CTP of Energy. So while Odin's Blessing Heal might be really good on Destroyer or Colossus because they have a lot of HP, and because they're tanky for Reflect, they're not really that strong in the current meta of the game. So it'd be better off to give that to a strong character that you're already building up, or you're already trying to max out, like Thanos or Jean Grey, or another character that has a lot of HP, maybe Wolverine, maybe Namor, maybe someone like that. You kind of get what I'm trying to say: a PvP build, Captain America, etc. If your first question, or if the answer to your first question is not you're trying to build up a strong character, or you're not really interested in making a character strong, because really strong, because not everyone is trying to make monsters out of their characters, then the second question I would ask is, are you trying to get a rank 1 character? And in this case, it makes a little bit less difference what Odin's Blessing you put on the character, and you can see this pretty clearly by going to a character's ranking and going to number 1, and seeing that for a lot of characters, the number 1 rank has a bunch of Odin's Blessings, but they don't actually have, well, this one doesn't, so I was wrong, but a lot of characters have Odin's Blessings, but they might not even be Odin's Blessings that are necessarily good for the character. Now in this case, this one is very, it fits all these physical attack ones, but even that physical attack energy, the balance there at the top, is not ideal for Captain America, but because Odin's Blessings add more stats to your growth score, that will help you get higher rank, that will help you get a #1 character a lot faster. So if you're going for a #1 character and they don't have Odin's Blessing on all 5 gears, you should consider putting this Odin's Blessing on a character to upgrade their growth score, to get them closer to rank 1, if that's what you're trying to achieve, because the Odin's Blessings will help you with that. And of course, that's the second question, if the first question was answered no. I think the best and the most efficient value for your Odin's Blessing is to give it to a character that's already strong, perhaps a character that you have at tier 3, because you've made so much investment getting this character at tier 3, you spent the CCF, you spent the books, etc. You want them to be as strong as possible. I've given a lot of my Odin's Blessings to Captain Marvel, because I use her a lot for most game modes, not only for PvE, but also for PvP. I just basically use her everywhere. So in that case, I went with #1, but I can see a lot of people going with #2. The third, and I think the last and the kind of least important way to consider using your Odin's Blessings is looking at a character that you use a lot that doesn't have a uniform. And I specifically single out the idea of not having a uniform because Odin's Blessings can cover up, if you have enough of them, but even if you only have a few, it helps. They can cover up a character who doesn't have a uniform by providing them with additional stats. So for example, Silver Surfer also falls into probably category 1 for being really strong, and possibly if you're being super aggressive about getting #1 rank for Silver Surfer, it could possibly fall into category 2. But in the case of Silver Surfer, category 3 could also work because without a uniform, it's not as easy to cap all of his stats. Now you can still do it because he has really good gear options. He's got skill, cooldown, and ignore defense on the 4th. He's got double HP, he's got double all defense. He's got like really good stats on his gears. But without a uniform, you're missing all of those bonus stats that you would be getting from a uniform that you get right here. These stats that you can roll and sort of use to maximize all of the important stats to kind of make them capped out and see all those yellow numbers there. You know, capped out crit, capped out ignore defense, capped out dodge, capped out cooldown, etc. So in the case of the third question, I would say if you have a character that you use a lot, like let's say Dr. Doom or Strife or even Iceman, it doesn't have to be a character that's super meta, but you know, again, the stronger the character, the more they're going to benefit from the Odin's Blessings. Even Sentinel, for example, I could put the heal on him because he doesn't have a uniform, so he can't get those double HP rolls for uniform options 2 and 3, and I want Sentinel to be tanky because I want to use him for PvP. So this would be an example of the third situation where you're not trying to boost up a super strong character, you're not trying to get rank 1 for a character, but you have a character that you use a lot, they don't have a uniform yet, and you really just want them to be as strong as possible, so you give them an an Odin's Blessing that let's say has ignore defense, or it has skill cooldown, or it has some of these secondary stats that will help you max out the character's details page without having to run into a deficit or make a really awkward build otherwise. The last thing I want to talk about is not really regarding Odin's Blessings. It's just a quick little thing that I wanted to test out in Giant Boss Raid, and I wanted to pose this question to you guys because I know there are a lot of you guys out there who have strong level 60 characters that you haven't yet taken to level 70, you haven't yet taken to tier 3. I have a theory that even against Master Mold, level 60 characters just don't cut it, even if you have a really strong level 60 character. So I'm going to jump really quickly now into a fight with Silver Surfer at level 60, but I encourage you guys out there, if you have like a really strong, let's say Cable, level 60, mythic uniform, CTP of energy, or you know, tier 2 mythic Sharon Rogers with a CTP of energy, or some other, you know, Namor level 60 with a CTP of rage or something like that, but they're not at level 70 yet, try them out in Giant Boss Raid. Let me know how well they fare, because I'm very curious to know if this is actually real and if this is a trend, or if it's just the majority of characters, but it can still be completed, Master Mold with level 60s, by some super strong characters. Now in this case for Silver Surfer testing, I'm using Coulson and Nick Fury, so I'm giving him the best possible team while still maintaining the debuff team up so I don't get mind controlled or anything like that. But I'm gonna have a bit of a hard time seeing his overall damage potential because we have a tier 3 Jean Grey on the team, so that might sort of influence the numbers a little bit because, you know, it's a pretty strong Jean Grey and she's got the Satana leadership on top of the Ghost Panther buff, but we're looking pretty good right now. I think there might be a difference between native tier 2s and regular tier 2s that make this comparison a little bit less accurate for Silver Surfer specifically, but I have seen already some people only being able to clock about 20 million damage with, you know, a completely kitted out tier 2, native tier 2, in this case it was a Quicksilver, with multiple buffs from, you know, teammates and stuff like that, because they're only at level 60. So it might not be the same for native tier 2s, I'm not exactly sure. 13 million damage is pretty good, but it's more this second phase here that I'm curious to see. I don't necessarily think that, just to be clear, I don't think Silver Surfer is the best option as a test because he derives a lot of his base damage from all defense down on his 5th skill, and you don't get that against Master Mold. So like Deadpool, he does lose some of his value specifically against GBR bosses because he doesn't have that to take advantage of, but I still think he can do damage, and you can see you know, how bad the reduction is. We're struggling, as you can see, even though I'm hitting my procs. We are struggling now, whether we're struggling because his damage is not high enough, I just missed a proc there, or whether we're struggling because we're not getting the all defense down, or whether we're struggling because, like I said, he's level 60, and I have a feeling that the Master Mold and the GBR bosses are typed at like level 70 or possibly level 72, so you get a really big penalty if you're not level 70. So we're going to exit out here, but yeah, only being able to clock about 16 million damage in 2+ minutes is pretty bad. So while on the one hand, I acknowledge that Silver Surfer gets a lot of his damage output buffed by the all defense down on Birth of a Star, I can't help but wonder, you know, how is he only putting up 16 million against Master Mold when he has the advantage and he has 2 support strikers? But then on the flip side, he can do stage 50 Call Obsidian. He can do, or whatever, 40, 45. He can do 50 or 60 Corvus Glaive. He can do all these crazy World Boss Ultimate levels. He's not using a CTP of Rage, so it's not the all defense. It's not the defense down against the boss mechanic that's being sort of involved. And I'm wondering if there's something else specifically for GBR. Although I don't think we've ever gotten a official word from CM Fragment or anyone else at Netmarble. So if you guys out there can test that for me, I would really appreciate it. I know it has nothing to do with Odin's blessings, but you know, I gave you a little bit of information and I wanted to get some in return as kind of a little swap, a little exchange. So let me know what you find if you can test that out for me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.